Wildcard topic Wednesday. Let me just check. We're good on the sound. Hope you're having an amazing day. And if you're not, then it's resilience reset time, which means that you can turn it around and I'm going to help you. Just getting organized here. A little water, hydration, important before we pull today's topic. And I don't know, which book should we do? Who's here? Tell me, say hi in the chat box. Would love to hear from you. I have 2 books on my desk. And I mean, this is the new one. We've been through it several times for sure. So let's go to the old school. Let's go here. And actually, you know what? I found the very first version of this book too, a couple weeks ago. So let's use this one. Let's use this one. Are you ready? Okay. And so the way this works, I just pull something. Should we stop there? Let's see if we haven't done it yet. We have done it. It's forgot someone's name on this side and dining etiquette on that side. We don't want to talk about dining etiquette. Do we? I don't. Confidence. Let's do confidence. True confidence allows you to take your eyes off yourself and focus on others. I love it. Great topic for a resilience reset, because I'll tell you, resilience, the confidence feeds into our resilience in so many ways. Our ability to see through, and can we keep going? Do we have what it takes to succeed? Do we have what it takes to land that big job? I mean, there's just so many pieces of the puzzle. And the reason I love confidence as a topic is because I lacked it so much. I was so lacking confidence in my early career. And I am just, so grateful that I found confidence. So we're going to help you find some today too, or to even enhance your already amazing confidence. All right, Greg, we've got you on the road today. I'm glad you are here and tuning in. Awesome. And Kirsten's here. What if we just have attention deficit and other people are just so interesting? You're really funny. First of all, I know you and you do have confidence. So that's why you can make a joke like that. And I don't think you have attention deficit, but maybe you do. Maybe you do. And people you hang out with are interesting. Do you know some of the people you hang out with? Those who didn't hear. Greg, because you can't see the screen, I just pointed at myself because Kirsten's a friend of mine. So anyway, that's really funny. Okay, so let's see, when I wrote this, what I was thinking about confidence, because I have so many pieces of it now. So there's actually 7 steps to elevating your confidence. So I think we can go right through that. But first, let's just look and see what some of my worst things were back then. I wrote here, developing confidence has been the single most important personal transformation that has impacted my career. And, I've had some people calling me lately, other people who want to do lives, and I'm super excited. If you want to do this on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're tuning in from, I'm going to encourage you to go for it, because one of the ways we can build confidence is to practice, right? And to get things done. But I'll get calls from people and say, how can you just show up online and not know what you're going to talk about and talk for 20 or 30 minutes at a time? And it's not because I'm brilliant. It's because I just trust. I trust that something's going to come out. And the only way you can trust that is if you have confidence that your brain is thinking about something that's going to have, that can be said. Now, I want to share with you that I have had times early in my career, especially when I was on stage, and nothing came out. Certainly nothing that was of value or interesting. And if it did come out, I would turn bright red and crackly voice. I remember I would, I was a horrible public speaker. Let me tell you, for a long time, it was very, very, very bad. Oh yeah, look here. This is how I start about it. The worst was watching the face. Okay, there were occasions not too long ago when I was so nervous talking in front of crowds that my voice would crack, my hands would shake, and my face would turn bright red. And I remember the very first time I nailed a speech, because up until that point, I was often really nervous, but I also always made it about me, and it was all about being self-conscious, right? Like, am I going to screw up? Am I going to say something dumb? And what am I doing wrong? And that kept me from being a good speaker, because I was so self-conscious, and then confidence can counteract that. And in this book, the framework I used was perspective. What was that framework? I mean, I wrote this book many, many years ago, but I think it's perspective, practice. There's one other P. Oh, I've got to find my framework. Sorry about this, guys. Although, you know what? I forget some things in here because it was written so long ago. But anyway, so I remember though, preparation. That was it. Okay. So I remember the very first time I had confidence on stage, and it was for the Wraparound London event. It was at the then called the John Labatt Center. It's a 9,000 person arena. And we, for this black tie charity event, ended up shutting down the arena. We put, there were all these on the ice rink. So we made it so it was a dance floor and tables, and people could eat dinner. And so there were only 400 people there. But for me, that was a huge crowd in this huge space. And I was so committed to doing a good job. And I had so many embarrassing times on stage where my voice cracked, my face was red. I mumbled about things, like went off in tangents, which I still do, but that's just me. And but back then they didn't make any sense, and I didn't know to come back around to the main point eventually. And I was so committed to doing a good job. And so this framework that I use in this particular book was preparation, perspective, and practice. And I think perspective is first, preparation, and then practice. And so the perception or the perspective for me was, Allison, this is not about you. This is 100% about how do you serve the audience. And so when you have a greater purpose, it's a lot easier to have confidence in yourself, because you realize you're just the conduit to achieve something happening. So if you're in sales and you're talking with someone and you truly, truly, truly believe that what you have to offer is going to be of value to them, then you want to be sure that you can ride that confidence of bigger purpose so you can take your eyes off of yourself. And so for me, that was a huge piece. Then it was the preparation. I knew exactly what I had to say. I knew my timing. I knew everything was there. And then I practiced, and got up there and squeezed my butt cheeks and looked out into the audience in the dark and the spotlight on me. It was the first time I really felt that. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And actually, it was on that dance floor that night when a fellow by the name of John Drake, who is somebody who I have a huge admiration for. He's an entrepreneur and just has done really incredible things in the community. And he was dancing with his wife, and he leaned over and he said, "Allison, I think you have a potential in public speaking." And I laughed. And I said, if only they would pay me for that. And he looked at me knowingly and just kind of went on about his way, right? And I was like, oh, what does he mean? Because until that point, I'd only ever been paid $50 as an honorarium to MC events because I was in the media. And so I'd get in front of an audience for $50. That was it. So anyway, that changed my life that night. And confidence is part of it. Okay. Let's go to another question. What if someone has confidence when being social, but imposter syndrome in the work sphere? I feel this way, which is really interesting. And you're not alone. I was reading another post today about imposter syndrome on LinkedIn. So it's something that's very typical. I constantly feel I'm not as smart, experienced, knowledgeable as others in my industry. My work involved trust, and the confidence in my abilities plays into that. How do I learn to be confident in my ability genuinely? Well, Kirsten, let's go through this entire process. 7 steps. 7 steps. Number 1, identify your value add qualities. So what is so interesting is, see, we can't have confidence that we know everything. Like, to your point with your potential clients or your current clients or just out into the community, it's not, okay, you don't need to know all of it. You need to know your piece of it. And the thing is that I think the imposter syndrome comes because we expect ourselves to know all of it or to compare to other people. And I read something the other day, when we try to be someone else, it's like, or do something that somebody else can do with, such grace and ease, or we expect ourselves to do that. It's like, we don't need to be able to do that because that person can do that. Right? Like, the universe has already got that specific angle of that specific situation covered. That's not your job. Your job is over here. And let's get really, really crystal clear about what you bring to the table. And so, on the theme of invest time today to buy back time tomorrow, invest the effort today to have the confidence tomorrow, we want to identify all of your value added qualities. So your ability to connect to other people, your ability to remember who people are and, figure out what their angle is and how you might be able to serve them. That's huge. Remembering, I don't want to name all your great qualities because other people don't know you and you may want to explore those, right? I think that you want to just really figure out what makes you great. You're really good at asking questions, really good at being curious, confidently curious. Let's make a list. And for me, what I did, and I don't know if it was in this section here, but it's right. Oh yeah, it is. Write down all your positive qualities. Don't stop until you've listed a minimum of 20. And they can't be things like, I have great hair. Okay. It has to be something that if your hair dryer breaks, you're still fantastic. These are your core, what makes you, you. A smile that can light up the room, a curiosity that can drive a conversation, an eagerness to learn what makes people tick, just figuring out and exploring and looking at yourself objectively. And you may want to enlist the help of other people to find out what makes you awesome. Right? Let's figure that out. Kaimin saying, we're always comparing our weaknesses to other strengths all the time. Exactly. And we don't have to. We can choose to stop doing that. And the way I've chosen to stop doing that is when I notice myself going, oh, I wish I had that, I immediately flip it. Because remember, in the book, our second response is the priority. Right? We may have that initial response that says, I want to compare myself to this person. I wish I had what they had, have a little bit of jealousy. But the truth of the matter is that we can then go, wait a second, no, that's taken care of. I admire it in them. And then we can also question, well, what is it holding up a mirror for me that I want to develop in myself? Maybe they're achieving something that I wish I was achieving. Right? So let's get that list together. And I used to actually carry this list around in my glove box and review it before I went into events and important meetings to ground me in my confidence, because my default was not to remember the good things, but to judge the things that I am embarrassed by, right? Like, I'm clumsy. Just those sorts of things that I used to be really hung up on and now are just part of the Ali G flair, shall we say. Okay, next. Step 2 on building your confidence on Wildcard topic Wednesday is write down your fears and confidence zappers. And actually, I created a confidence chart. I'll have to see if that's still up on the internet. Probably should put that up somewhere. Because this is just so old. I'm sure it is, because I know some people are still using. What do you not like about yourself that makes you feel insecure? Because sometimes what we do is we make this, oh, I suck at everything, sort of great big umbrella over our entire personality, when if we're actually really strategic about thinking about it, when we're not in a confidence zapping situation and we pull back, we can go, okay, well, I'm not really confident with my ability to talk about this, or I'm not really confident about my ability to strike up conversation with someone new, or I'm not good going past. It's like, I'm really good at creating the early conversation. Hey, how are you doing? What's going on? Da, 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 da. Not as great as taking it deeper if we have to spend a really long time together, right? Whereas other people have that knack. And so I had to like really, really break it down and figure out what are the pieces of the puzzle where I excel and where I feel very intimidated, what makes me feel intimidated. And I'm very clear. I still get intimidated by certain situations and I know exactly what those are, but I strategically talked about them, like figured it out, like mapped out a situation where I would have had lacked confidence. And then was like, because here's the thing, if we can find out exactly what makes you feel like you have the imposter syndrome, like because you don't always have an imposter syndrome. I know that. But when do you, and in what circumstance, and with what type of person? If we know that, then we can strategically counteract that. And that's key, because we're gonna work through this process, and it's not gonna happen overnight, but we're gonna set some benchmarks to working towards the right type of confidence for you. So imagine your worst case scenarios. So what if your biggest fears became realities? What if somebody actually called you an imposter? What if somebody said you don't know what you're talking about? What if you put the wrong person with the wrong person, like connected the wrong people? What if you, as somebody asked you a question and you don't know the answer? Like, actually play it out. If you know what makes you are your confidence zappers, or the situations that make you feel intimidated or like an imposter, then we want to imagine the worst case scenario. And most of the time when you play those things out, there's a lot of, ultimately we get to a point where you can say, so what? Oh, well, no big deal. So what? It just keeps, like, they really generally aren't as big a deal as we think they may be. I don't know why I have those in. They're falling out. So something to consider about, right? So, okay. So then once you've got that figured out and played it out, and you can have a ton of fun with that. I know when I used to work with people on their confidence, we'd play around with this a lot. But then you want to go, what is the worst case scenario? How likely is the worst case scenario to actually happen? And many of the worst case scenarios, if they do happen, are never as bad as we think they're going to be, ever. Like, it just doesn't ultimately matter if they happen. And then you want to think, okay, so I'm just going to read some of this because these are good questions, I think. Are your confidence zappers legitimate reasons for people to not like you, or to feel that you are unworthy and out of place? See, because what zaps our confidence may not be the thing that somebody else is going to look at us and go, I'm not going to hire her because of that. It's really funny. The two are generally not correlated. What people are looking at us for is not the same as what we're feeling self-conscious about. And I know that to be true, because think about how we look at other people. We don't look at other people and go, oh, well, and maybe you do if you're really judgy, but I don't think most of us are having conversations with people and having these, the same types of judgments that we have towards ourselves, towards other people. It just doesn't work that way. Okay. Then we go to step 4, fix it or accept it. So, for example, my klutziness is a bit of a thing for me that I know is one of my Allieisms. And I either had to continue to live in fear that I was going to embarrass myself and, like fall downstairs in front of 400 people. I mean, it happens. Or, hit my fork because I talk with my hands, as you know, and, hit my silverware and have it fly off the table and, be embarrassed about that and have that make me feel fear, which sounds maybe really petty to you, but for me, it was a real stumbling block early in my career. Or I could go, okay, Allison, are you going to fix this? In which case you're going to have to learn how to be less klutzy and to mind your movements and not be as animated and not be in flow and stop using your hands. Or are you just going to get really good at when something happens, when you show up as klutzy and you trip or fall or whatever, that you can get really good at saving face and not being embarrassed by it and letting it go. And in that situation, it ultimately was, I just decided to accept it and move on. And then there are other things where, maybe I felt like I wasn't good at conversation. I had to fix it. And so I would, I proactively thought of what are some topics that I love. And if you ever heard me back in the days when I spoke about the content in this book, I often talked about having small talk and for introverts and people who didn't love small talk and how do you create that? And so I looked at that list of confidence zappers and decided, fix it, accept it. And the accepted ones, I was just like, okay, going to trust myself. If it happens, it's okay. The fix it ones, got to come up with a game plan, map those steps to actually fixing it. Next. Oh, here, there's a little word here. If something is of specific concern to you, ask yourself, how can I divert focus from this shortcoming so people can see my strengths? See, we don't have to be good at everything. As I was saying early, it is, we can simply, if we know what our gifts are, then we can play to those strengths. And then we're not imposter syndrome. We know we're on our flow in our strength, our power. And if we are, really playing in our mind, all this chitter chatter of, oh my gosh, I suck. That's not going to do well for our confidence. Greg's saying, it's amazing how when you decide to own something, it touches, reaches, as resonates with others. Yeah. I don't totally know what you mean by that, but I love it. It's amazing when you decide to own something, it touches, it reaches, and resonates with others. Yes. Well, because I think it's a human experience. So if I'm feeling it, you're feeling it, somebody else is feeling it. And one of the things that I want to do with this resilience reset each day is to be open and vulnerable of, of course, I've had times when I felt the imposter syndrome, right? Or not had confidence. And now I have confidence. And, sometimes some may say it's gone too far. And but it's almost like I know my faults so well that I've accepted them to the point where it's like, look, guys, this is as good as it gets. And I hope I'm going to keep getting better. And here I am. And I'm not always right. And I'm not always eloquent in how I speak. And I'm not, sometimes I get off track, like all of that. That's just who I am. But confidence allows you to show up truly as who you are and serve. And so this was the way I went about creating my confidence. Now, the next thing is to stop apologizing. The best way to zap your confidence is continually apologizing for your shortcomings. It keeps you from focusing on your strengths. And it goes on to say, catch your negative self-talk. So I think this stop apologizing in this sense was externally to others and internally to yourself. It's so easy to beat ourselves up each and every day, to say the worst things about ourselves that we would never say to other people, to hold ourselves to a standard that is completely unexpected, unacceptable for anybody else. And yet we expect ourselves to be able to meet these incredible, oh yeah, this is good. Okay, so he's saying, I was resetting to owning your differences as they are your secret sauce and differentiator. Yes, right? Like that, when you do that, strengths, what do I bring to the table? And what are my fears, my shortcomings, the confidence zappers? And you can see it in black and white. You can be like, all right, am I going for it? Am I fixing it, or am I just going to accept it? Yeah, thanks, Greg. That was a great clarification. And yes, a very, very good point. What do you say? I'm not judgy, but I'm judge me. So I realize it's not that funny, but it's funny when you see it. I judge me. Yes, exactly. And why? Why do we do that? Like, I would let anybody walking by, I don't care what weight they are. I don't care what hair color they have. I don't care if their roots are showing. I don't care any of that stuff. And then we look at ourselves and we're like, oh, that's unacceptable. Well, sure, we want to be the best we can be, but to a level of making yourself feel like crap, that's not helpful. Why do we want to beat ourselves up? That'll kill our self-confidence. Now, I wrote this, the paying it forward. Okay, so stop apologizing. So I wrote in here, for every negative comment you make about yourself, contradict it with 2 positive thoughts. Now, there's a challenge. You seeing this? For every negative comment you make about yourself, contradict it with 2 positive thoughts. I'm challenging you to that. That is how we can start to contradict that negative internal voice. And if you want more information on that, check out my other books, because that is part of what I talk about in there as well. But we have to retrain that inner dialogue. We've got to stop calling it, letting it be the biatch that's ruling the roost. Step 6, take your eyes off yourself. Be conscious of yourself, but not self-conscious. Now, each and every time that I went into an event, before I went, I would reread my little spreadsheet with all my little ideas of what I thought I brought to the table. And I would, I say here, deal with the business of you. So get your brand together, check your lipstick in your teeth, get your, fly pulled up, be sure your bra strap's not showing, all of that. And then when you walk into a room or into a meeting, or you're going to be with someone else, or you show up online, all of that goes out the window. Stop thinking about it. Do not think about yourself again until you leave. Now, that is not to be mistaken with the advice that I really don't like, where we want to focus all of our attention on everybody else's needs, because truthfully, I think we have to, it's not about them. It's not about me. It's about finding the we, the in-between, the togetherness, the opportunity to collaborate and serve each other. Adopt a pay-it-forward attitude. What can I offer this person beside the product I sell? How can I make someone else's day better? What can I do to help others? Good deeds have a way of boomeranging around out of the blue. It's really interesting when we go back to this book. One of the reasons I like using this book sometimes for our Wednesday Wildcards is because I wrote this. This one was published in 2012 by John Wiley and Sons. And the first version of it was done in 2008. And there's so much in here that I still talk about today, like taking your eyes off yourself, being being conscious of yourself, not self-conscious. Like that was a good line. I don't really use that now, but the whole idea of good deeds, helping others, coming from a place of service, all of that builds confidence. And when you think about confidence too, when we can have little wins, when we can create momentum and be a part of someone else's success story, that is going to feed our confidence as well. And then step 7 is make it happen. The best way to expand your comfort zone is to give yourself mini challenges. Encourage yourself, and then I wrote, okay, force yourself if need be, to do things at the top edge or outside of your comfort zone. Sometimes you just got to get out of your own way and make something happen. When you survive big or even small leaps of faith, you slowly but surely gain confidence. And so I would also add into this a few other quick ideas, and then we'll wrap up for today. Look back on your wins. You know, earlier Kirsten was saying about feeling that imposter syndrome at work. Well, I know your track record and some of the things you've actually succeeded in doing and implementing and making happen. And so I'm going to encourage you to add that as a secondary list of all the things I've actually successfully done that build up the proof of the strengths list that you bring to the table. Because if you read those and you focus on those and you're like, okay, these are legitimate, not made up, pie in the sky, magic fairy dust. I, love this. Like actual things that you can say, I did this successfully. You can build confidence there. That can be the foundation of your confidence. The problem is we're often so busy judging ourselves, being judge me instead of judgy, judge me. I think that we're not seeing the wins, and the wins are what give us that foundational confidence. Make sense? You know what? I love the fact that we are talking about this topic. My God, time flies. It does for me because I'm talking. I don't know if it does for you because you're watching. But yeah, I think it's time for me to close. How long have I been going? Oh yeah, 32 minutes. Well, you know what? That's what today's was all about. That's what we needed to get off our chest here on the resilience reset. And when we think about resilience, we really need to, just trust ourselves and have faith and confidence, whatever word you want to use, that whatever you're going through, you're going to be able to get through because you have the core talents. You may not be able to see them because you're just muddied in your thinking and, being hard on yourself, but they're there. And if you objectively sit back and say, okay, what do I bring to the table? Where am I falling down? Am I going to fix it, accept it? How do I take my eyes off of myself and come from a place of service? Stop apologizing and stop beating myself up. And then get out there and make some practice. Make it happen. Then you will slowly but surely build confidence. And we're going to end this on Atlas's thumbs up over there watching us on YouTube. So glad you're over there on YouTube. Remember, you can get this each and every Monday through Thursday on all of my different platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Facebook page, YouTube. And if I can figure it out, I'm going to start making these events on YouTube so you can pre-register and know what the topics are going to be in advance as well. So I'm working on all that technology in the background. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm Allison Graham. If you're not following me on LinkedIn, please do. I'm actually going to start using the hashtag Allison Graham so you can be sure that you get notified for everything I'm doing over on LinkedIn. And follow me on the other channels if you're checking it out there. And other than that, I dare say, until next time, may you stress less, do more, and be happier. That's my hope for you. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.